Welcome to United Chokros. We are back after almost 10 days and we have a guest with us along with me and AB. Please welcome Bushid on the show for the first time. Hey Bushid, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, Devi and Abhishek. Thank you for inviting me to join this discussion.
Thank you,
Uh,
thank you.
it's great to see you both taking initiative and on this platform and having a discussion about Manu games, pre-match and post-match discussions. Okay, uh, and it's good to see you guys taking this effort.
Thank you, Bushra.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for coming on the show. And it's all about fan opinion that matters the most to us. And this is what we're going to discuss about Man United's previous week's performance, the upcoming games, and the international break that is coming up, how it is going to affect us. AB, as always, thank you for coming on the show. And first of all, I would like to start asking you guys, what do you think about the AC Milan game? Do you think, I know the result is good. We went to the next round of the Europa League, and it's all happy glory days. But do you think is there any progression in the style of way we play, or you are happy to just nick a goal in and keep a clean sheet? AB, first you.
Yes, I'm certainly happy with the game that we won, DV. But apart from the Pogba goal, I don't see anything good that happened in the game. We were lacking attack as we are always doing the entire season. Yes, for a minute, I thought Luke Shaw was doing simply a superb job. Being a left back, he was most of the time in the attacking half and almost in the box most of the times. But apart from the Pogba goal, I don't see any positives from the game. Yes, we did try strong in the defense this time. Something good to see from Maguire. But apart
Mhm.
from that, nothing that I could take in future. Yes, I'm very happy that we have qualified for the next group stage, and quarterfinals is on the cards right now. We need to be more strong in case we need to qualify for the next round, even.
Bushid, what do you think about the AC Milan game in the midweek?
I'm happy that we qualified for the quarters now. Regarding the game, if you ask me, I would say we did pretty well in the defense, but as usual, in the forwards, there were not too many chances that were created.
Right.
Thankfully, Pogba came in and he chipped in a goal. That was mind blowing of him. And with reference to the defense part and the midfield, still there are many places where we can improve. And when I saw the last match and I saw McTominay and McTominay giving away too many loose balls very easily,
Mm-hmm.
not going for it. In fact, we could have considered a goal when he gave a back pass. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Correct, correct.
So that was a crucial moment which he could have stepped up and uh, shown his natural game
Mm-hmm.
because being a huge guy, having a good personality, he can defend players from AC Milan team.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the problem was we're missing the creativity from the midfield, and it's all about Fred and McTominay running and uh, tackling. So the effort is there. They are putting in a shift, but that's something we need expect more from either one of them because you cannot have two players doing a job of one player. Ideally, we only need one number six, a defensive midfielder, and then one of them can push forward. But that isn't happening. We literally ask them to sit back and protect our centre backs, and because of that, we are having a clean sheet. It's not something great that we are doing because we're. It's like we are playing with six defenders at the back, and at
Correct,
times Bruno is almost isolated and
correct,
there's no creativity because if you look at the game, how many chances Greenwood has? So if people are
correct,
talking about buying a premium number nine, but what is he going to do if you're not going to feed him those balls? He's going to stand there and wait for the passes, and he's not going to. If you want a premium number nine to score 20, 30 goals a season, you need to have players in the team who can create more opportunities for him. And unfortunately, that isn't happening. Pogba has come back, but again, what he does is he plays McFred in the midfield and he plays Pogba on the wing. That's
correct.
pointless. Pogba is more effective. when he plays in the center of the park. And I'm not I'm not going to talk about the Van der Beek situation because it's quite frustrating now buying a player and not making him play. It's just not a Van der Beek. Telles has not played. I know it's Luke Shaw has been playing his best football, so it's pretty debatable that Telles is not starting. Cavani is started few games and then he's got injured. So ideally, the players that we bought in the summer transfer window, none of them have
Mhm.
come and affected our first team. So there's no first team activity in the last summer transfer window, and the club are actually proud of talking about their transfer activities and how good they are, which actually is not the case. So yes, coming back to the AC Milan game, yes, I thought we were lucky. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a lucky man, but again, positive things to talk about. We have it's in the last 5 games, it's our fourth clean sheet, not conceding goals. Henderson had a really good game, made a
Really
couple
good
of really
game.
good saves,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then apart from that, even Luke Shaw was amazing. But for me, the man of the match was easily Victor Lindelof. I think it was one of his best performances last
Yes.
in Milan, and yes, it was a difficult option between Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. Both of them actually played, but Victor Lindelof made some crucial interceptions, and I think there was a situation where he was one-on-one. The striker was one-on-one
With
with the goalkeeper, and
Zlatan. And he
Lindelof
was
did a
marking
very good job.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yes, yes, yes.
Lindelof,
So
yes.
correct. So it was really good to see both the defenders, doing their job, and after a very long time, we could see a good performance from each one of them. So that's a
Yeah.
positivity that I would take, and I'm sure you both also are happy with that defensive performance. But yes, that doesn't mean that we compromise on our midfield because there's a lot of creativity lacking from the midfield, and Solskjaer needs to work on that. Also, I'm not sure whether you guys have been noticing that Solskjaer doesn't use the substitutions. In the game against West Ham, there was no substitution. Against Milan, he only had one player. So, do you guys think it is a problem because even after buying bench players, he's not using them? So, what's the point?
Well, DB, maybe he's too confident about the starting 11 that he has in the squad,
Mm-hmm.
and he does not have that much of confidence with the players who are there on the bench. Now, if you
Mm-hmm.
see, most of the United fans are still having this big question: why not Van der Beek? And how many more games that he's going to bench him? He's
Mm-hmm.
a very quality player. I don't see any reason that he's on the bench and there's no chances given to him. There are players in
Mm-hmm.
the squad who are being rotated here and there, and I think so. Van der Beek is a super classy player who can be given a chance at least once in 2 games. He's not that bad. But looking at all his performances, he's always on the bench. But still, there's always a smile on his face, thinking that maybe the next game we might see him, or maybe the next game. But that's becoming more of a frustration, maybe inside of
Mm-hmm.
Donny Van der Beek. But hope to
Mm-hmm.
see Soldier having some kind of confidence in him and helping him play in the starting 11.
Correct, absolutely correct. And what do you think, Bushit? Do you think the substitutions not happening are good enough, or it's I think it is waste of buying players if you're not going to use them. And do you think players will get tired if they play if they're not rotated? Because managers like Pep Guardiola, they keep on rotating the players. Even when he's playing a game, he'll bring in use all the three substitutions, which I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't do. So what do you think? Does substitution need to happen very frequently, or what he's doing is absolutely correct?
No, substitution is necessary. Okay. And I will also agree with the point raised by Abhi that maybe Solskjaer is not that confident with the current players, with the substitute players that we have. And another thing that is currently, since we are dealing with the major problem that is injury of the players,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the players that he wants to play, go in and play, maybe he's not they are not fit. And the players that are remaining on the bench, maybe he feels they're not he's not confident enough to give them the chances. This is what even I feel.
Correct, because none of those players have started, that frequently. And I'm surprised, Ahmad Diallo scored in the first leg and he wasn't given any minutes. That's very surprising that, and I,
Even I was
I am
expecting
not,
Ahmed Diallo to play in the last match.
yeah, exactly. I thought even at least he could have got him a substitute, and it was see because I can see the boy can play, and it's not that he will struggle or get exposed. He's a decent player, and if you give him the opportunity, at least 10-20 minutes is not going to do much of a damage. I think he is a very decent, very good player, and I don't think there's going to be much difference because even Daniel James is running around and he
Correct.
runs with the ball and then he comes back and passes it back. So what bad is Ahmad Dia going to do? So giving him 5-10 minutes actually would improve his confidence, give him game time. When by the end of the season or next season he may be actually ready to start games and we will have a right wing situation fixed. So again, not able to understand why doesn't use substitutions in spite of having players on the bench. Again, a big question on that. Now, uh, spoken about the midfield thing and spoken about the substitution. We've got an important FA Cup game tomorrow against Leicester City. Leicester are a really good team, and we are going to their stadium and having that game. It's a quarter-final game. So we've gone into the next round of the Europa League. So guys, what do you think is going to be tomorrow's result? Do you think United will come out victorious? And what do you think? Will he start Fred McTominay again, or will he give Pogba and Van der Beek a start in tomorrow's game? So, AB, first you.
Yes, DV, I think so. It's a very crucial game for us because here it's not of a draw. We have to have a
Hmm.
result in tomorrow's game. What we also need to remember is Leicester is one team in the Premier League who's giving us a tough fight for the second position. So it's not that they're out of form or they are still
Hmm.
lacking behind in the Premier League. They are right there, right behind us. So what we
Hmm.
need to do is we need to give a strong, best from the first minute itself. If we be
Hmm.
more complacent or maybe thinking that we can go for the draw or maybe look something in the extra time, we obviously
Hmm.
know that we don't have that much of an attacking team who can score a goal in the extra time or maybe save us from the penalties. So I think so. What needs to be done is we need to score in the first 90 minutes itself. Let's not
Hmm.
drag the game to the extra time part.
Hmm.
More or less, yes, I think so. It will be again a McTominay, McFred combination. DV your favorite, and so is mine because I don't see any replacement nowadays in the team. I would love to see Pogba though, because see, as you said very correctly, we have six defenders right now. Ideally, if you see like that, so maybe we can start Fred, and along with Fred, we can start Pogba. At least what
Yeah,
Pogba can do is Pogba can pass on those crucial passes to Bruno, or maybe if Rashford starts, Rashford, Greenwood, and he can create that gap. He can create that crucial passes, which can then lead to a goal. But if you
correct.
would start McTominay and Fred, so ultimately what they would be doing is they would be passing the ball to Bruno, expecting him to create a chance or maybe take a strike at goal. What
Hmm.
if you play Pogba? What he does is he also tries at goal. At the same time, he's providing passes to three crucial players, which is Bruno, Rashford, and Greenwood. So the chances of scoring is more as compared to when you see a McFred
Correct.
combination. So I
Correct.
feel for me, if I would say because it's a very crucial game and we need to have a result, I think so. It
Hmm.
should be McTominay, Fred and Pogba for me.
Yeah. So as AB rightly said, rather than having McFred, Frogba will be more helpful. Yeah, you're actually right because what Pogba does, he does a defensive job. Okay, that's what McTominay does and even Fred does. But along with that, he brings a lot of creativity in the center of the park. His vision is absolutely good. He not only can create, but he can also score goals. So Pogba is like a blockbuster, box office player. When he's on the pitch, something is going to happen. He may have a bad game, but he will have that moment wherein, that will be a completely game changing moment. So the presence of Pogba is very important. And that brings me to my actual point. What he may end up doing is he will play McFred, but he'll play Pogba in the wings. So doing that is pointless. I know Pogba will like to play on a more advanced position, but for me, I think he should be playing in the center of the park. That's where Pogba is more effective rather than playing him on the wings and then having Rashford on the right and Greenwood on the as a striker. So I would rather have Pogba in the center of the park, and uh, that's where he can make much of a difference and create more opportunities and score goals. What do you think, Bushit?
I'm going to absolutely agree with you. I feel Pogba has the best thing about Pogba is he holds the ball. He'll
Mm-hmm.
give time. And even last match, if you see, he was holding the ball quite a lot, allowing the players. to move forward, and it is also going to help Bruno Fernandes to put
Correct.
in more efforts and to create that crucial chances.
Mhm.
And I'm expecting. I'm not sure if Rashford is going to play tomorrow due to the injury, but
Correct.
I'll be happy if I get to see Cavani to play tomorrow. I'm not sure if he's fully fit, but I because he's a you can say he's an impact player, and like a crucial games like
Yeah.
Leicester tomorrow, I
Mhm.
think we should have him on our side.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct because either one of them, Marshall or Cavani, we need them because the chances of having Rashford for the game is very less, and
Yes,
he's
correct.
nursing an injury. I don't think we should risk him, and he should even withdraw from the England international because those games are against teams in the friendly games. We need
Okay,
Rashford back from Man United when
back
the
from
international break is over because a lot of players will be coming back from injuries and suspensions. So the last part of the season is going to be very important, and we need most of our players fit. So yes, as you rightly pointed, either Cavani or Martial need to start that game because Rashford won't be there, and I don't see any you know creativeness or goals from Daniel James. He'll just run and run. See, I'm
correct.
not doubting his this thing commitment. The commitment is there. He gives in a shift, puts in a shift, and gives 100%. But there's no creativity. He just runs around and passes and goes back and passes the ball. Takes too many touches, similar to what McTominay and Fred do. There is no quick moment tempo about the game. That's what is lacking, and I hope to see, like you rightly pointed, I hope to see either Martial or Cavani. That could be very important for us. For me, I think Leicester shouldn't be a problem because we beat them earlier this season. I'm sorry, we it was a draw, I think, but we were actually better than them. And Leicester don't have a good home record. They play really well away from home. So I'm expecting us to win. Our defense is looking pretty solid. So what I expect to see is a 1-0, 2-0, not more than 1-0. So that's what I expect to see, and I think we should go through the next round. It shouldn't be a problem. Semi-finals. I think this is a really good opportunity for us to win the Europa League as well because we have, as you saw last night, we drew against Granada. So Granada is not very side that will give us trouble compared to what we played against Real Sociedad and AC Milan. So if we could beat these two sides, Granada shouldn't be a problem. So, what do you think, AB and Bushit? What are chances of winning the Europa League this season?
The chances look quite good, Davy, because if you see right now
Mm,
the fixture that's come up with us, Granada, as you said very
mm.
correctly, it's a comparatively a easier team to beat because if you see the other teams, they had the likes of Ajax, Arsenal, Villarreal,
Arsenal,
Sparta.
Villarreal, yes.
So
Part,
these are quite a difficult team if to beat and then qualify for the semi-finals. So the good
correct.
part is we can easily qualify and then expect the better teams to get knocked off and we again get a easier team in the semi-finals. That's the best we can
Mm,
expect right now. What we also need to think is that we are capable enough to win the trophy. Whatever
correct.
has happened in the past in the Champions League, just leave those dreams behind or leave those bad images behind and think about the future. We have come quite a long distance to come to the quarterfinals. What we need to think right now at this point of time is we have beaten AC Milan. So that is a
Correct.
big boost for us thinking,
Mm,
having that thinking and keeping a positive attitude could easily let us win this trophy. And for I can proudly say that yes, we are there in the quarterfinals, even after so many problems, lapse in the
Correct.
defense, lack
Correct.
of creativity in our midfield department. But even after that, we are in quarterfinals. I'm quite happy, and I certainly see the team going through to the semifinals. So I don't see a problem over here.
yeah, yeah. So, what about you, Bushit? What do you think are chances of Europa League this year?
Definitely,
Will
I'm
we win?
100% sure that we are going to qualify. And another thing I would say is that after um from the first initial three games of the Premier League, the which we lost. After that, the way the
Correct.
team has improvised and shown a strong character and that urge to will, that is commendable. And taking it forward here in Europa League, okay, I feel that our team is confident enough, and more than that, they deserve to win this season after so many things going on, and special. I would like to mention Oli. The way he has handled things regarding his own role in the team, whether he'll be there or not, and after coming back after such a crucial situation and coming and qualifying for quarters now, playing Granada, I think this team deserves to win this season because they have shown a great.
Mhm. Correct, correct. You're absolutely right. And there have been times, where people have always been asked questions about the style of play and, whether he is the right man for the job. So, talking about being a right man for the job, like I've always said, I will leave that till the end of the season because still, I think he's done a pretty decent job, not getting back in the transfer window, not having the players he wanted. Still, there's a progress because we finished third last season. We are second this season. I don't think we will be finishing below second unless we mess up a big deal. I think if he qualifies for the Champions League next season, he will keep his job. But I will have to say that the style of play has to change. Going into next season, he cannot do the McFred thing next season because if he does that McFred thing and if we are playing with six defenders at the back, then I'm sorry that's going to be questions asked and then we will have to talk about it whether he's the right man for the job or not. Right now, the progress is there. I think we've done pretty well with what with the backing that we've got in the summer transfer window and. Uh, if we finish second and get some players to improve our squad, maybe next season we can challenge for the title. So yes, I think the positivity is there, and I think Europa League shouldn't be a problem this year because even if we beat Granada, Ajax are beatable, Arsenal are beatable, even the other teams, Villarreal are shouldn't be a problem because we've beaten AC Milan and Real Sociedad. When we beat Real Sociedad, they were top of La Liga. They were doing that good. So we beat two really good teams. So I don't think we should have problem in the next three games against the quarterfinal, semi-final, and final. So we should win those games easily. Now, since I was talking about next season, my last question to you guys would be: once we end the season, we qualify for the Champions League. Which positions do you guys think we need to strengthen in the next summer transfer window? And if you want, you can name your players as well. But most importantly, what are the positions which are primary important? Because I don't think we're going to buy more than two or three players. So that is our standard transfer policy. We don't buy more than two to three players. We don't do a Chelsea or Man City. Uh, our board doesn't have that spine to do. But yes, if you had to buy two or three players, which positions most importantly would you want to improvise? And if you want, you can name your players also, which you prefer. First, Bushid, you.
I'm expecting Haaland to come in and play, as he's the current favorite. I would say people are referring him as next Ronaldo and Messi. So
Mhm.
I'm expecting Haaland to come in and play. He's a very good player, and definitely he'll help us to win Champions League and more Premier League titles.
Okay, so Bushid goes for the striker. What about you, AB?
I think so. I'll go with three positions, Davy. One is a centre back. One is
Mm-hmm.
more of a central midfielder, like the way Pogba is right now. So, for example, if
Mm-hmm.
Pogba is missing the way he was nowadays, so we can
Mm-hmm.
have a substitute like him who can do that. Ideally, Van der Beek can do that, but I don't know. Somehow, Solskjaer does not have that much of confidence in him. So ultimately, you would maybe think for a quality player much more better than Van der Beek, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
someone like that. And last, I think so. What I heard in the previous messages, and a lot of things are now coming up on the internet as well. That Cavani might not be in the next season.
Correct.
So
Correct. He may not be there. Yeah.
yeah, so maybe a quality striker, as Bushit mentioned, Haaland would be, that'd be the best thing we can expect right now. It looks quite impossible task for me though because
Correct.
our board is not ready to pay that much of money. But if
Yeah.
they are ready to get it, I'm quite happy with Haaland as well, Deep. What do you think?
If you ask me the we've been talking about the one position that we need to sign next season, that is centre back. There's no compromise in the centre back. Even if we have to let go of Haaland, that's okay for me. But centre back cannot be compromised. Centre back is the need of the hour because uh, we all know why McFred are playing so deep because he's not confident with Victor Lindelof and Maguire. So when we play a high line and suddenly there's a counter attack, neither of them have that pace to come
Correct.
back and track back and stop those runs. When we start Eric Bay, okay, what he does is he has that pace to he has that pace to come back and stop the counter attacks that are happening. So when we play with Eric Bay, we play a high line. Either McTominay and Fred can go forward and create more chances, but that doesn't seem to happen with Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire. And for some reason, he doesn't trust Eric Bay. Right now, his favorite partnership is Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire. So I think a centre back is necessary, and most importantly, buying a right centre back. Mm, it's pointless buying someone like Ben White or Nikola Milinkovic or someone like Tyrone Mings. It will be pointless. I would rather have Lindelof and Maguire because it's he. Those are not going to make an. I want centre back who will impact and go straight on the starting line and who will replace either Victor Lindelof or Harry Maguire. So buying the right centre back is important. I in the center of the park. I think we need a centre midfielder. So someone who can stop having those. We basically have two midfielders doing a job of one player. So we need to have someone in the center of the park, someone like Michael Carrick, a player of that caliber who can not only stop the counter attacks, not only can tackle and do the interception, but also has a good ball distribution. You can have a good vision that will allow Pogba or Van der Beek, whoever plays next season as a number eight, next to that player, will allow him to go forward and create more chances. That's what I'm expecting, and I would rather have a right winger than having a striker. So I will save striker for the next season. Right winger, I don't think we have an out and out of winger who can put in a cross. Rashford and Martial are not traditional wingers. They don't put in a cross. They would rather run with the ball, take a shot, or cut in and hit the target. We need someone who can run on the wings and put in those crosses. We do not have any of those wingers. So for me, centre back, then defensive midfielder, and uh, another one is the right winger. Now having Haaland, talking about Haaland, yes, you don't want to miss an opportunity to sign Erling Haaland because if Erling Haaland goes to Man City, it's game over. Then no matter how many players we sign, Man City, because with the type of players Man City have, with the quality of players that they have, and then adding Erling Haaland to it, it's like they are not only going to win the Premier League, they're going to challenge for your Champions League as well. So I think it's going to be very difficult transfer window, uh, considering the way our board deals with the signings and everything. I hope Matt Murtaugh and I'm sorry, what's his John Murtaugh and Darren Fletcher will put in their impact, put in their output and buy the actual good player that we need. So I'm excited about the next transfer window, but at the same time, I'm not expecting too much. I think it will be a centre back and maybe they will sign a striker, but that's not going to be Haaland. We're going to do something like Igalo or Cavani again, a player who's about 30 years and we'll bring him on a loan and then, do for 1 year, we'll do again, sign again a player who will do a job for a short time and then we will look to buy a player next season. Haaland is very difficult because Dortmund won 150 million. We couldn't pay 120 million for Sancho. What makes everyone think that we'll play 150 million for? We'll expect you're expecting too much from our board, you guys. I don't think it's going to happen. But yes, I would love to see Erling Haaland. He's the player that will make a difference. So yes, that's all I got to say. Anything you guys want to add up before we wind up the video?
I would
Maybe
just
I
like to
think
mention one thing, not taking anything away from Van Bissaka. We forgot to mention him and appreciate
Mm-hmm.
his effort in the last game. So just wanted
Correct.
to put in about
Yeah, absolutely. Van Bissaka has been rock solid in his tackling and interception. He's improved his game a lot. I think there's a lot to see from a lot of Van Bissaka has a lot to offer going forward. Not only he's got to improve his positioning, time of defending, and his headers. And I think with the time he will improve. I think he's growing in confidence, and he's been a better player from what he was last season. Going forward, has improved his runs and everything. So I think he will going forward. He's going to be a really good player. Uh, in next, I think in a year or two, we will see him make the same kind of impact what Luke Shaw does. But yes, a lot of promise, a lot of progression from Van Bissaka. I think yes, closing this season and going into the next season, Van Bissaka will be a player to watch out. What about you, AB? Anything you want to add up?
I think so. I missed on appreciating Henderson's effort, DV. So the clean
Yes,
sheet that we're talking
absolutely.
about nowadays, I think so, is doing simply a very superb job. We are not
Correct.
having David De Gea, and it's not making us feel that we are actually missing him.
Missing him,
He's doing a
yeah.
wonderful job at the goal. Being with such a team, such a hard team, and especially our defense, which is lacking nowadays. Even after that, being so strong at the goal. In fact, he's the one who's motivating the defenders. Most of the time, I see that
Correct.
he's pushing them
Correct.
forward. Don't worry, you please go ahead. I'll take
Yeah,
care
he's
of
very
the goal.
vocal. He's
He's
very
yeah,
vocal.
actually
Very
very
vocal.
good.
Yeah,
And
very vocal.
even at,
Absolutely.
at a time of corners, he's making them understand where the players need to focus more. That is
Mm-hmm.
something which is very good that we see in him. So I think so. He's a major reason for us for having those clean sheet deals. So I think so. David De Gea now will have a bit of a tough time for him to get in the squad because Henderson is doing simply a superb job.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's going to be very, difficult decision for Ole. But I don't want to get in to this because it apparently it seems like in our between our fan base there's a division. Henderson versus David there. I don't think that should be there,
Absolutely.
and I have our board to blame it because both these keepers shouldn't have been there in the club because they are first choice keepers. None of them are backup keepers. We should have sent Henderson on loan and played David there for the season. And then next season we could have decided between the two of them. Right now, what happens is playing either one of them puts the pressure on the other one. And in fact, the one who is playing also has the pressure that if he does a mistake, he'll be dropped next game. So that is always there on the back of your mind. It's never good to have two first choice goalkeepers in the team. It's not a good decision that our board and Solskjaer have made. But yes, my first choice of goalkeeper is always going to be David there. I am going to give him a chance to the end of the season. Wait and watch what he does because there has been good game. He's been had good performance at times, and that goes unnoticeable because our defenders are not all that good. And he's the only difference between De Gea and Henderson is that Henderson is more vocal, and De Gea is a better shot stopper. So not a goalkeeper I'm talking about as a goalkeeper, shot stopper. So stopping the shot, De Gea is really good at that. So
He
let's see
has a
what.
very good reflexes,
Yeah, his
David De Gea.
reflex action is
Very good.
brilliant. He's got
Yeah.
brilliant reflexes. So I'll wait till the end of the season to decide who should be our goalkeeper next season. So I'm going to talk about that. And yes, it was a good session we had with you guys. Thank you, AB and Bushit, once again for coming on the show, especially Bushit. You've come on the show for the first time. Thank you very much. And it was great talking to you guys. To all of you guys, please make sure to subscribe to our channel if you're new. Don't forget to turn the bell icon on the right hand side of your screen to get the latest notification. We'll be back after the Leicester game. It's on Monday night to do the post-match show. Thank you once again for watching this video. We'll see you after the Leicester game. Bye, guys.
Bye. अभी अपन बोल सकते हैं जो बोलने क्या होगा ना
Easy
था
था.
अरे
Easy
आराम से
था.
मस्त बोला एकदम
Hello.
हाँ बोल दी
ना बंद करने को